Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Game 1 in a best of 3 between Dnestr and Włochaty in the third place final of Herr's Grand Tournament. So after being defeated in the semi-finals, both of these players going up against each other to determine third place, and today we are going to be seeing Medere, and on the Allied side Dnestr is using the 2nd Armoured French, and on the Axis side, Włochaty is going to be using the 3rd Fallschirmjager, which is a division that I don't think I've ever seen him use before. So that's going to be really interesting to watch. Either way, let's talk a little bit about the divisions. So the 2nd Armoured, definitely a very strong division into the 3rd Fallschirmjager. It has the Stuarts early on, it has the M8 Spies, for example, and also the M10s. If you accompany those with some strong infantry like the Pioneers, then you can definitely break through a map like Medere quite well. And that's something that the Fallschirmjagers will struggle to deal with, because Fallschirmjagers actually aren't decent at close range, and therefore, like against Pioneers for example, they will lose out quite significantly. It's something that the French can definitely exploit. However, on the side of the 3rd Fallschirmjager, you do of course get some decent aircraft to help you out in the early game, like the Me-109s can strafe stuff. You've got the abundance of decent infantry, like you've got the Fallschirmjagers, which are fantastic if you can manage the range that you are engaging enemy infantry. And you've also got like Fallschirmpanzerabwehr, and lots of different cool recon units that can really help you out. There's going to be plenty of Panzerschrecks that might make things difficult for the armor to push through. But like I mentioned already, like Spy, the fact that the recon on the French side is actually pretty decent should make it so that Panzerschreck ambushes are less common than they would otherwise be. Let's have a look at a few of these units going down. We'll start on Włochaty's side of things. On the top here, it's going to be a Fallschirmjager accompanying a Fallschirmpanzerabwehr, could be a Fallschirmspeer troop as well, since there is a Panzerschreck following up. Further down, it's going to be a unit of Fallschirmjagers. There's a couple units of command here, the Fallschirmführer. And then you've got, again, more infantry recon and the Fallschirmflammenwerfers, which is something that I didn't really expect to see. But I guess it makes sense going in combination with the Fallschirmjagers. Allows them to fight decently at close range. If the Fallschirmflammenwerfer like supports them against like Pioneers, for example. If they bump into like voltages, then the Fallschirmjagers shouldn't really struggle too much. But nice to have that accompaniment there. And then some Fallschirmjagers on the bottom side with a Panzerschreck. So very infantry focused from Włochaty, which is certainly a playstyle that he likes to use. I think his infantry management is one of the best in the game. And he's shown it to us before, especially with divisions like the 17th SS Panzer Grenadiers. On the side of Dnestr, he is going to be bringing in one of the M8 Spies early on. He's got some Pioneers here. He's got some of the Le Flamme, which are the French flamethrowers. He's got a 50 cal. There's a recon unit in there, the Spy. And there's an M5A1 half-track with the Nueve and one of the mortars early on. For the bottom side, it's just going to be a couple of those flamethrower units to hold the front line forwards, with the M5A1 and the Nueve with another Spy squad. So that's an interesting lineup from Dnestr. It looks like he's going to be putting a little bit of focus on the top side, and if he can make that work, then he could potentially force a breakthrough, because he does have the fast units in the half-tracks in the M8 Spy to sort of exploit a salient. This mortar will definitely help pin down the annoying Fallschirmjagers from range. Like if he needs to cross here, for example, he could either smoke this, or he could just put HE into the right side tree line here and pin down the Fallschirmjagers before his infantry attempts to cross. Smoke would probably be better, because then you wouldn't take fire from either side. But still, the mortar gives him that flexibility and will allow him to push aggressively early on, because otherwise you don't have any other artillery to work with. I don't think the French can bring in much else in phase A. They have to rely on those infantry mortars. This deployment's taking a little while, so let me just speed it up for you guys. And there we go, we are off. Let's have a look exactly where these troops are going. So yeah, just a couple units for the bottom side. It looks like Włochaty is going to try and occupy the chateau early on. A couple units heading towards these trees and a small amount on the top side. So yeah, Włochaty playing this relatively defensive, like spreading out evenly across the map. I'm going to try and whittle down the French forces of Dnestr. On the side of Dnestr, you can see a significant amount of forces heading to the top side, as opposed to the weaker units heading to the mid and bottom side of the map. This 50 cal, it might be able to cover the chateau quite well for a little while, but we'll have to wait and see. +1 for Dnestr straight off the bat is actually really nice for him. The Le Flemme really helping out. On the top side, the M8 Spy is coming up fast. Oh dear, Panzerschreck. Is it going to be spotted? I think it has been. It's going to be ripped to shreds. It's gone. Fallschirmjager though still do have a Panzerschreck up their sleeve, and they can use that to ambush the M8 for sure, but I'm not sure the Nueve of Dnestr are going to allow that to happen. They're going to try and push through this tree line in order to counteract those infantry units. Włochaty going to be coming into line of sight there. Honestly, if he can engage the Nueve before they get to the tree line, then that might work out in his favor. Is he going to get the Panzerschreck off? He does, but it misses the M5A1. The M8 Spy is still absolutely fine. And now, these Nueve could probably sit in this tree line, engage those 2 units of infantry, and then the M5A1 half-track can move down and get line of sight onto them. So Dnestr's in a really nice position on this top side, has a huge salient. However, on the same vein in the mid, Włochaty has pushed through with the Fallschirmjager's Flammenwerfer. Fallschirmjäger there have found the Le Flemme as well, and losing those could be a big problem. But as you can see, the Fallschirmpanzerabwehr got melted. The Fallschirmjäger is in trouble. The double Nueve certainly doing a lot of damage. Oh, Dnestr mortaring his own infantry though is not good. It's going to end up pinning down one of his Nueve, which is going to stop the progress there quite significantly. Now with the Le Flemme dying down here, that does of course make Włochaty's salient that little bit larger. These Fallschirmjägers are going to be coming across a unit of flamethrowers as well. This will be an engagement to watch for sure. On the top side, Fallschirmpanzerabwehr, they are going to be killing one of the M5A1 half-tracks. Can the Le Flemme stay alive long enough to deal with these Fallschirmjägers? It looks like Włochaty's just going to back off from that engagement, does not want to take it. These Fallschirmjägers will be able to kill the WC-52 with their machine guns, removing that out the way. But this is really important on this top side with this Fallschirmpanzerabwehr killing that half-track. Like, the fact that Włochaty brought this in almost immediately and had it in that town was very, very smart. Stops like the salient, like I said, being exploited by these fast units, and that's something that Dnestr tried to do, but didn't quite work out. And now, it seems as though these Fallschirmjägers are just going to end up running round the flamethrower squad here. And that should potentially cut them off, and when it does, be a lot of territory falling in Włochaty very shortly. M8 Spy is coming up. We're going to be very careful coming across this bridge, because the Panzerschreck could hit it, as it will be in range just about. Okay, never mind. I thought it would have been closer, but Dnestr actually backed it off really smart. Although now allowing it to get closer again is very, very risky. 81mm mortar, try and help out with the Pioneer flamethrower engagement. The Fallschirmpanzerabwehr taking out a unit of infantry before it unloads, very nice. These Fallschirmjägers being forced back by the 30 cal, this is. It's interesting that it's a 30 cal actually. I thought these would be 50 cals, but they're actually 30 cals. I've not seen someone rely on the 30 cals as the French for a long time. Generally, people tend to use the 50 cals in Phase A if they can. But Dnestr has the +1 early on. Certainly made a lot of ground up here with that really, really nice move with the double Nueve. But now he's going to try and push into this town area by the looks of things, and that doesn't seem like a good idea to me. And like, this is going to be really hard to break, because not only do you have Fallschirmjägers that have ideal range from this engagement in order to wipe infantry that don't have cover, but also there's plenty of Panzerschrecks that's going to stop like vehicles from getting involved at range. And even if they do get involved at range, the HE at range is not particularly fantastic. Włochaty's still doing damage in the back line. Does have his Fallschirmjagers hitting some Nueve here. The Fallschirmpanzer are pushing onto the 81mm mortar as well, so that's interesting to see. These Fallschirmjagers, they're not being affected by being surrounded as well because they do have the wings. But here we go, Fallschirmjagers now engaging the Pioneers here. And you can see they just deleted them before the Pioneers got into range. They did get pinned down in the end by the double machine guns there, the 30 cal and the 50 cal. That's mainly because they're not in the building. But I reckon he came out of the building because he didn't want the M8 Spy to get involved. So now Fallschirm Sharpshooter coming towards the centre, pinning down and trying to kill off the 30 cal there. The M5A1 wants to get involved, so does the M5A1 half track. That sharpshooter going to take a lot of damage. It's an interesting position for Włochaty because he doesn't have like an easy way to push, whereas Dnestr has all of these mobile units that he can use to respond to any aggression that Włochaty makes. So for example, up on this top side, with these 2 units of infantry arriving, he can just pull this M5A1 up, like that M5A1 half track and the M5A1 Stuart, and just try and pin those. Like, he's even got this M8 Spy here already doing the job. So that's just the benefit of being the French in this situation, and the fact that he can exploit a lot of the lack of mobility that the 3rd Fallschirmjäger has, and also the lack of armor that they have, because they do have the L6s, but the L6s suffer against the M5A1 Stuarts. So that is something that Włochaty has to be careful of. In the town here, the Nueve get a bit too big for their boots, and they are going to be kicked out of that town by the multiple MP40s that are on target. That was the Fallschirmjäger, Fallschirmpanzer Abwehr, Fallschirmpanzer Schreck. They all have really good HE at close range, and they just demolish them 3v1. These Fallschirmjägers suffering quite badly as the flamethrower squad comes in to clean them up. One problem I do see moving through this game is the lack of infantry availability and how that's going to affect Dnestr's ability to contest these forest areas throughout the game. So like moving into the late game, it's going to be harder and harder for Dnestr to actually push through the forest areas, and will therefore have to focus on making ground on the very bottom side here and just holding the ground he has made on the top side. And you can see that's already coming to effect. Like, a lot of the infantry of Dnestr is kind of dying now, and we did just see the Stuart on this bottom side get killed by the Panzerschreck there, which is not ideal. Got a little bit too close for comfort, and Panzerschreck punishing that. So M8 Spy is still moving up on this top side, but with a Pak 41 Gerlich on the way, that could actually get the kill onto this M8 Spy, because the M8 Spy has a severely limited amount of armor, so it can't just sit out in the open anymore, especially with that AT gun on the way. L6 also coming up to the top side. At close range does have the penetration value to kill an M8, so it might be something that Włochaty tries to take advantage of. Now the Fallschirmjägers though, getting aggressive. 30 cal might be able to stop these Fallschirmjägers from moving forwards, but saying that, the MG34s, they're certainly going to return the same amount of fire. Fallschirmjäger will clean up that M5A1 half track. That's going to stop the surrender onto the Fallschirmjägers here that don't have any command nearby. This L6 should delete the Nueve there, and they will do indeed. On the bottom side, Fallschirmjägers making ground are going to come across one of the flamethrower squads. Currently, Włochaty sitting on the +1, and after what was a pretty wild early game, it seems to have slowly but surely fallen in Włochaty's favour as he's solidified his ground with his superior infantry availability. Now, apologies about the background noise. I am recording this in the middle of the day and it is very busy outside, so apologies for that. But either way, let's carry on looking at this game as the M8 Spy has been forced to fall all the way back, which allows the Panzer L6 to engage any infantry squads that reveal themselves quite convincingly. Then that allows the Fallschirmjägers to push forwards aggressively. Fallschirmjägers did manage to defeat the flamethrower squad on the bottom side, giving Włochaty a salient large enough to push a +2. And we've now moved into Phase B. What does that mean for the 2nd Armoured? It does mean 2-star, potentially 3-star Shermans, but on a map such as this, when you don't have the control that you once did, especially in the forest areas, it's looking pretty dire. Like, you can't take advantage of that really decent armor. I mean, it can be used to potentially kill off these L6s, but you need to have the infantry on the ground first of all, before you can support said infantry with a Sherman. You know, there's no point in bringing in a Sherman on its own if there's no infantry for it to support, because that's the best thing for a Sherman to do. It's just support other infantry rather than try and go Rambo all by itself. This 30 cal has been found on the top side by the Fallschirmjager here. It looks like the 30 cal is just trying to get a cheeky kill onto the Pak 41 Gerlich, which is a smart move by Dnestr. He may as well try and use this for something rather than just keep it hidden there behind enemy lines, but unit of infantry does go down before it unloads, and that is not good on the top side here. With the Pak 41 coming into the mid as well, it does manage to kill off the Stuart here. And, oh no, not again. Dnestr made the same mistake twice. Same Panzerschreck takes out another Stuart, and Dnestr just putting himself in such an awkward position here. Sharpshooters are going to be taking on the Spy. Going to probably kill them off. M8 Spy on the top side has come round and got the Spaulding crew wounded onto the L6, but is going to back off because it was a little bit worried about the Fallschirmjagers advancing, I believe. Does find the kill, which is not too bad. Pak 41 though, once again, going to be hitting these half-tracks, and these half-tracks really need to stay alive because Dnestr can't afford to lose them at this point. Mainly because you want them to be able to spread out and hold the front line where they can, but like losing them for free like that is just not good. So 2 units of sappers trying to cross the open, now going to come under fire by the Fallschirmjagers. If the half-track tries to get involved, then the Pak 41 could just move back forwards and kill it. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, huge salient down here. Fallschirmjagers made a lot of ground. Scharfschütze, Luftwaffenführer are going to make more ground, and the Pak 40 has now come in as well to even stop enemy armor in the form of this M4A2, which has come in. But we're getting to a point where it's not going to even matter because the Bolshin Panzerschreck on the top side does kill the M8 Spy, and that's now going to free up this other Panzer L6 to support this infantry as it continues forwards. Bolshin Panzer Abwehr takes out the half-track here, that pins down the sappers that were next to them. Włochaty's infantry micro is just on point, and he's left Dnestr with barely any forces left, and Dnestr is going to surrender. What a game. It was very explosive from start to finish. I think Dnestr made the right choice to surrender there, because if he doesn't have the momentum going into the beginning of Phase B, it's very difficult to come back in Phase C as the French. Like, insanely difficult, especially against an entrenched 3rd Fallschirmjager, which seems to have, like, the entire map on lockdown. Włochaty was pushing a +3 at the end of the day as well, so had racked himself up quite a few points. And in the end, 1,220 kills to 425 losses for Włochaty is a significant kill death. So, congratulations to Włochaty, takes game 1 in this best of 3. Let's have a look at some of these kills. This 30 cal, it did okay. I'm surprised that it was 30 cals and not 50 cals though. But yeah, M5A1, M8 Spy, one of them killed an L6, but that was pretty much it. This M8 or M5A1 barely did anything. The other tanks, as you can see, didn't score any kills at all. I thought there was a lot of potential for this 81mm mortar, but then Włochaty managed to somehow sneak a Fallschirm Panzer Abwehr right in its face. The Fallschirm Scharfschütze, they did fantastically. Fallschirm Panzer Abwehr microed very well to get them through to the 81mm mortar. Again, to pick up these Panzerschreck kills, just keeping an eye on all of the movement of his opponent and picking up those Panzerschreck kills was very significant throughout the game. The Fallschirmjagers, of course, being managed well in order to take advantage of their ideal range engagement. But yeah, when this happened, the second M5A1 died on the bottom side to the same Panzerschreck. That kind of told me that Dnestr was maybe struggling a bit with this game, and eventually ended up in the surrender. So yeah, once again, congratulations to Włochaty. We are going to be moving on to the second game of this best of 3 to determine who is third in Herr Robert's Grand Tournament. But until then, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.